Made man here. Y'all know how I get down. We talking boxing, man. You know, if you are a fan of this channel, y'all know that I keep it 100 at all times, man. And I mean that. Even the fighters that I like and the fighters that I kind of support, you know what I'm saying? I even hold their feet to the fire. So if you're a fan of this channel, y'all know how much I dig my main man, Kell Brook. But here's the one thing that I would not stand for. You know, Kell Brook, who is my man, I think the dude got the goods, man. I think ain't many in the fight game can fuck with him. Kell Brook, I stood up with him when he said, hey, man, I'm not ready to fight Errol Spence if I'm going to fight Errol Spence. And everybody like, oh, well, you ducking Errol Spence. You ducking Errol Spence. And I was like, nah, man, if Kell Brook is going to a higher weight that he's more comfortable at fighting, why in the hell should he come back to 47, kill himself to make weight just to face Errol Spence? That was my position. And that was going off the words at the time of my main man, Kell Brook. Kell Brook says he couldn't make 47 comfortably no more at the time. He says that 160 was a better fit for him. You know, he felt stronger. He felt more healthier. Yada, yada, yada. You know what I'm saying? But now I've heard since the Triple G fight, I've heard Kell Brook say he'll fight Danny Garcia. He'll fight Keith Thurman. He'll fight, of course, Floyd Mayweather. And now I'm hearing Manny Pacquiao. You know, basically everybody at welterweight, you know, all the big name fighters, with the exception of his mandatory, Errol Spence. Now, this is where I get off the Kell Brook train. If you're going to go back to welterweight, you got to fight Errol Spence, man. It ain't no sugarcoating that shit. You had no problem fighting your mandatories in JoJo Dan and what was the other guy? Kevin Bizier. Oh, he had no problem fighting those mandatories. But when it comes to Errol Spence, it's like every excuse in a fucking book. And if you can't get any of the 147 big names that you mentioned, you'll take a fight at 54. It seems like, and I ain't trying to be funny, man, but it seems like, yo, Kell Brook is doing everything that he can, and he'll fight anybody with the exception of Errol Spence. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is just not a good look. It's not a good look at all. You are the IBF welterweight champion. If you're going to fight at welterweight, you fight your mandatory first, you beat Errol Spence, and then you can go on and get those big names. I've always said for a long time that a lot of these guys were ducking Kell Brook while he was at welterweight. Kell Brook extended his hand across the aisle many a times, trying to get fights with all the fighters that he's mentioning now. But the fact is that you went up in weight. You chose to go up in weight and say that's your new weight now. So, given that's the case, you can't say I'm going to come back to 47 and not fight my mandatory. You know, the IBF has given Kell Brook until February to make a decision. Given that his eye socket is broken and he got all this shit wrong with him due to the Triple G fight, they're giving him till February to make this decision. So I'm expecting for Kell Brook to call out everybody's name from now into February, including Amir Khan. And Amir Khan, whom we all know how he operates, if he was to face Kell Brook, 9.9 out of 10, it'll be either at welterweight or at a weight he feel like he's draining Kell Brook too. So, you know, if you're willing to do that fight, you know what I mean? You're willing to do all of these fights, basically, except Errol Spence. How the fuck does this look, man? How does this look? It's already starting to look kind of fucked up that a lot of the welterweights is already ducking Errol Spence. We just heard Tim Bradley come out with that bullshit, you know, why he's not fighting Errol Spence. And Tim Bradley just basically, everyone just feel like they're too high of a caliber fighter, too accomplished of a fighter to step in there with young up-and-coming Errol Spence. Well, guess what? When he's your mandatory, at that point, you have no excuses, especially since for the previous year and a half or so, you've been fighting and hide behind certain fights because you claim that they were your mandatory. You know what I'm saying? So if you're such a mandatory fighter, face Errol Spence or risk criticism and ridicule. I don't care if he takes a Canelo fight. If Kell Brook goes on the line and say, well, I'll fight Canelo Alvarez instead. No, bruh. No. I mean, that's fine with me as long as it's at a higher weight. But if you fight any fighter at 147, you fight anybody at 147, it has to be Errol Spence first, or it's going to look like you straight up ducking. I know people may say, well, main man, why are you calling him a ducker when he's willing to take on tougher fights instead? Because, that's a thing, man. People hide behind certain type of fights and say, well, hey, man, I lost that fight. I gave him my all, but boom, boom, boom. Dude, do you not know if you beat Errol Spence, what this do for your career? And if you lose to a big name fight, well, his career goes on. But if he loses to Errol Spence, the criticism will pour in from the rooftops, man. Like everybody and their mama, oh, I knew Kell Brook was a fraud. Oh, I knew he was this. I knew he was that. And that is what Kell Brook seemingly is afraid to face if he loses to Errol Spence. Ain't no shame in that shit, bruh. Ain't no shame as long as you give your all, go in that ring and do what the fuck you gotta do and give it your best shot, man. Ain't no shame in that shit, man. But if you think you're going to take that IBF title and somehow, some way convince the IBF that, hey, let me skip my mandatory for a Thurman fight, or let me skip my mandatory for a Porter fight. Now, and that's another thing. Danny Garcia and Keith Thurman are facing each other allegedly early next year. They're talking about next spring. Kell Brook is looking to come back around next spring. If you want to wait on Danny Garcia or Keith Thurman, you're pushing yourself to the fall, maybe late summer, maybe early fall. You're not going to wait that long. So those two fighters are off the table. Now you want Manny Pacquiao or Floyd Mayweather, correct? Now you want one of them. You want every fucking body but Errol Spence, man. And I ain't feeling that shit. As a big fan of Kell Brook, if I'm going to leave this video because I've said this, I just can't help it. Main man here. Y'all know how I get down. We talking boxing, man. If you are a fan of this channel, y'all know that I keep it 100 at all times, man. And I mean that.